Chris Broussard is now joining us, covered the NBA since the mid-'90s, co-host First Things First. I was saying Game 7s are crazy. The one or two things I know I'm going to get. OKC's defense will show up. Rick Carlisle's coaching will be great. I'm not sure I trust anything else. Pascal Siakam usually gives you a pretty consistent game. I mean, let's start with this. Were you surprised that Haliburton played and he was that good last night? Because he was pretty good.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised that he played. I fully expected that. But he did not look injured. And I know he was. There's no way they'll lie about an injury like that. But I think it was smart of the Pacers to, make it a game-time decision. I'm sure they knew. I don't know if they ever thought he wouldn't play, but to leave it out there as a game-time decision and put that question out there in the minds of OKC. Colin, as good as Indiana was, and they were great, and they deserve all the credit for last night, I also thought OKC contributed to that performance. Clearly, I mean, they're not that much worse than the Pacers, or even on a bad night. And they looked like a team that felt like the championship was in their pocket, like they had it, that Indiana was going to fold, and that Haliburton either wouldn't play, or if he did play, he would be severely compromised and no good. And he was the exact opposite. He looked fine. He moved well. I actually think, Colin, the injury made him focus more because he was more aggressive than he's been for most of the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think it made him zero in and say, okay, I really have no room for error tonight. And he ended up having one of his best games of the series.
I said this. Because they won by an average of 12.9 points a game, because they had the fourth most wins ever, there were these discussions, are we looking at a great team? And I fell for it with Denver. I totally fell for it. I'm like, they're going to be the Spurs. I think last night confirmed they're not a great team. Great teams aren't different on the road to that level. The great teams, Michael Jordan's Bulls could walk into your place. It didn't matter where or when. Even the Celtics are, the Tatum Celtics, they're sometimes better on the road than at home. This team, the variance home and away, to me illustrates they're another very good team with a chance to win a championship. They're not great.
Yeah, and I think that's just one of the many reasons they're not an all-time great team. The guys look at the numbers and the analytics and want to say they're all-time great. No, they're the second youngest team ever to reach the finals. There's no way they're an all-time great team just because they're that young. And we'll look back, Colin, they have to win more championships. Like when we talk about great teams, we're talking about teams that had runs. The only one-off team that was like an all-time great was the 1983 Philly 76ers with Moses Malone and Dr. J. All the other great teams were dynasties. The Lakers in Showtime, Kobe, Shaq, the Jordan Bulls, the Golden State. So this is not an all-time great team. And furthermore, Colin, and again, I'm rooting for the Pacers hard. I'm from Indianapolis, one of the many places I'm from. But this Pacers team is giving them all they want. And they don't have one guy that you can pencil in for 25 a night. They don't have one guy. Their most reliable scorer is Pascal Siakam.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if they had a Kevin Durant? If that's the type of team that OKC was facing, and that Denver team took them 7, gave them all they wanted, with 2 of their best 4 players, Aaron Gordon, MPJ, Michael Porter Jr., severely compromised by injury. So I think the Denver team in 2023 was better than this OKC team. So, look, I'll salute them if they win the championship, but let's stop it with the all-time great team.
Yeah, I mean, these teams live on their depth. They're both depth teams. The great teams of all time. We didn't care much about Shaq and Kobe's depth. We didn't care much about that. When depth is your go-to thing, I think you're a very good team. Let me say this though. I said, and then we'll get to a couple other things, Lakers and maybe Caitlin Clark. That if Indiana wins, it will be the strangest team ever. Think about this. Strangest championship team ever. Think about this. 21st in cap spending. Nobody averaging 20. Obi Toppin started 4 games all year. He's their 3rd leading scorer. TJ McConnell has become crucial. And they have the oldest coach ever. If I wrote those on paper, that sounds like a 500 team in the East. If they win Sunday, is this the most unlikely, strangest championship team ever?
I think that's fair. When you say unlikely, I mean, 4th seed, there haven't been many teams, only a couple, Olajuwon and the Rockets, only a few teams that were lower than 3rd seeds have won championships. So that in and of itself makes them unusual. Haliburton, he's in Nick Wright's club, superstar. I'm fine with that, but let's keep it real. He's a star. I think he will eventually become a superstar, but he's just a star. And we always think back, the 1979 Seattle Supersonics, the 2004 Detroit Pistons were the only teams to win championships without being kind of star-laden, or at least led by this all-time great superstar. This team would be in that group. But even Detroit in 2004, Chauncey Billups was a blue-chip high school and college player, right? He just was a disappointment his first beginning of his NBA career, but he was a blue-chip talent. Rasheed Wallace at North Carolina was a blue-chip talent. They had guys that everyone knew for years, even before the NBA, were great talents. This team really, Pascal Siakam didn't even start playing until he was 17. And Haliburton, nobody really thought he was going to be like a superstar player. And you mentioned it, TJ McConnell. Colin, right now, Pascal Siakam is the finals MVP if Indiana were to win. TJ McConnell's in the running. I'm serious. He's in the running. He might get a vote, depending on what happens in Game 7. So this is an unusual team, and it signifies a change in the NBA. Yeah. Because it's a team. It is not 1, 2, or even 3 superstars. It is a true team, and some will love it, some will hate it, but it's a different NBA, at least this year.
Yeah. Okay. Lakers sell for $10 billion. I think some of that is the new television deal, and the Mark Walters group said, listen, we got guaranteed $300 million checks annual or whatever it's going to be. You know this because of your sourcing in the NBA, and I've been on this for years, is they were really becoming closer to the Cincinnati Bengals than they were the New York Yankees. Like, they were mom and popping it. Like, there's stories this morning. When the Lakers sold, what were your sources saying about the new group?
Well, look, everybody loves the new group, and that now, you're right, you hit on the head. The Lakers, it was a bit surprising as you start covering the NBA to see this great franchise, the glamour franchise of the league, one of the best franchises in American sports history, was really run like a mom-and-pop operation. It really was. It is not run anywhere near the way the New York Knicks, and they end up being much better than the Knicks, but they're run like a mom-and-pop operation. And now, when you bring in Mark Walter, and you just look, Colin, at what he's done with the Dodgers. The Dodgers had not reached the World Series in 24 years when he took over. He takes over, and they get great in short order because he was willing to spend money. Even before the Freddie Freemans and Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtanis, they were spending money with this new group to go get Andre Ethier and other big names, So he came in, and they've gone to 4 World Series, 1, 2, made the playoffs every year he's been there. So now imagine the Lakers with the weather, with the prestige of the franchise, now being willing to spend money as much, if not more, than anyone else in the league. This is great for Luka Doncic. It's great for Lakers fans. And they're going to do everything they can to start winning a bunch of championships. And when you look at what he's done with the Dodgers, it's hard to say he won't get a few.
Yeah, and something to remember with the Lakers, it is a winter league. And outside of Miami, Steve Ballmer has talked about this. When he spent that money, he said, I'm never selling it. But he goes outside of Miami, L.A. is the first or second choice where players, free agent stars want to play. That's never going to change. So the Lakers brand is underachieved for about 10 years. And now
Yeah.
I think that will change. Hey, I got to throw this at you. I'm a big Kevin Durant fan, but I said I don't understand the lack of interest. Only 2 guys in the league averaged 25 a game and shot 40% from 3. I love him. He's not asking for a max contract. He's not going to get a 5-year deal. I think his messaging sometimes is that he doesn't prioritize winning. He prioritizes having fun and hooping. And I think that turns off some really serious front offices. That's the only thing I can come up with why there isn't a bigger market. You tell me, well, why isn't there?
I think that's a great point. And we've seen it now. Now, Brooklyn, I don't really put that on KD because if they had health, whether it was him or James Harden or Kyrie, then I think that threesome may have been able to win a championship. And then, of course, Kyrie with the vaccination. So that was beyond his control. But he picks Phoenix. Remember, he wanted to go to Phoenix. Phoenix was just a couple of years away from almost winning the championship. They still had Devin Booker. And now look at them. And then when he has Miami on his list of preferred destinations, why? If he goes to Miami, if I'm Phoenix, I want Bam Adebayo or Tyler Hero. Yeah. Even if they could keep those 2 and get him, they're not, I don't think they're a championship contending team with Kevin Durant. So he could be in Phoenix East if he goes Miami. So I think people are looking at that like, what does he really want? Like you said, he just wants to hoop. He wants to have fun, whatever. Houston obviously can make the best deal for him. He would fit in perfectly. They would absolutely be a contender. But, Colin, if I'm the Rockets, I'm sorry. I'm holding out. I'm waiting and holding my assets to try to get Giannis Antetokounmpo. Yep. Giannis wants to give Milwaukee a chance, but that could change by the trade deadline. And because they have no way to get better. They really don't. Dame Lillard is out. They don't have many control of their draft picks for several years. So I think Giannis will eventually be on the market. If I'm Houston, I'm waiting for him. I think Minnesota is the place to go. As far as the market, Colin, he's about to be 37 years old, and he also wants probably a 2-year extension that's going to be over $100 million. That's what teams, I think, are looking at, combined with he hasn't really impacted winning for several years now, and he's only played 65 or more games once in the last 5 seasons. So those are all things that have brought Kevin Durant's market down.
Chris Broussard. Brew, it's great seeing you on a Friday. Crush it today on First Things First. Thanks, buddy.